Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're embarking on this really phenomenal journey. We're talking lost civilizations, mysterious sunken cities, and, the ultimate legend itself, Atlantis. For thousands of years, this idea of an entire world just vanishing beneath the waves, it's held this timeless allure for us. But what if we could actually use modern science to essentially drain the oceans? What would we really find sitting down there on the seafloor? Are we just talking about piles of rocks or the incredibly preserved remains of our ancestors' cities? Well, get ready, because we're going to use the latest data and underwater mapping to literally pull back the curtain on the truth beneath the waves. Our fascination with all this really stems from one ancient text. The story of Atlantis was first described way back in 360 BC by the Greek philosopher Plato. He wrote about this dazzling, highly advanced civilization that was just utterly destroyed by the gods in a single day and night. According to his account, this cataclysm was a brutal punishment for human pride and arrogance. And the story of a drowned utopia has absolutely resonated through the centuries. Even today, it captures the imaginations of everyone from A-list archaeologists hunting for the discovery of a lifetime, right down to Hollywood producers churning out science fiction movies. Okay, let's dive into this. We really have to ask ourselves, are stories of sunken cities like Atlantis just romantic myths, like some kind of ancient science fiction? Or is there hard, undeniable scientific truth hiding right now beneath the Mediterranean? To answer that, we need to look beyond the legends and turn to the very real, tangible underwater sites that scientists are actually exploring today. We're going to strip away the water and look right at the hard evidence. Section 1. Pavlopetri, the oldest submerged town. So our first stop takes us to the coast of Greece. Back in 1967, a maritime archaeologist named Nicholas Fleming was just snorkeling off a small island near Elefanisos, and he notices these strange geometric rows of stones. It turned out to be the sprawling remains of a town. That site became known as Pavlopetri, and as archaeologists started mapping it, the sheer scale of the discovery completely blew their minds. By analyzing pottery scattered in the sand, they were able to date the settlement, and the timeline is just staggering. They found pottery going all the way back to the end of the Stone Age. We're talking about 5,500 years ago. Even crazier, they found evidence of continuous occupation with absolutely zero gaps, right up until the Bronze Age, around 1100 BC. This 20-acre underwater site wasn't just a quick settlement. It was a thriving community that housed up to 4,000 people and stuck around for 2,400 years. And the everyday artifacts they found down there tell an incredible story. When scientists mapped it out, they didn't just find a few scattered houses. They found clear street foundations and this massive central open area that acted like a marketplace. They pulled up thousands of fragments of giant storage jars called amphorae, which were used to move bulk olive oil and wine. They even found thousands of loom weights, way more than any single family would ever need. What's really interesting here is that this proves Pavlopetri wasn't some sleepy little village. It was a booming hub for international trade and textile manufacturing, set up perfectly on a sandy shoreline to beach trading ships navigating those Bronze Age routes. So, how exactly does a bustling port like that end up underwater? Well, there are zero historical references to its sinking. It just disappeared. But the geology left us a permanent record. Scientists mapping the drained bay discovered these mysterious strips of submerged beach rock right at the edge of the town. Now, these rock formations only happen where sunlight hits salt water exactly at the shoreline. Finding 3 distinct lines of this rock tells a really violent story. Basically, a massive earthquake struck, dropping the land down. Then a second earthquake pushed the ruins even deeper. And finally, a third earthquake submerged the thriving city completely, forever. Section 2. Baiae, Rome's sunken Sin City. All right, let's leave Greece and jump forward in time to the Roman Empire, specifically to the Bay of Naples in Italy. We're talking about Baia, a 430-acre, sunken Roman port city that was basically the Las Vegas of the ancient world. It was the absolute ultimate resort for the Roman elite, famous for its total debauchery. You can still dive down there today and see the stunning remains of luxurious villas, the elaborate nymphaeum dining room built for Emperor Claudius, and these intricate mosaic floors that honestly look like they were laid yesterday. But what makes Baia so fascinating is the terrifying geological reality hiding right beneath this paradise. The Romans flocked there for the beautiful maritime climate and the natural thermal baths. What they didn't quite comprehend was that their beloved party town was sitting directly inside the caldera of a massive, highly active volcano. Just to give you a sense of the reputation this place had, listen to this quote from the famous Roman philosopher Seneca. He was absolutely appalled by this city. He wrote, "Baye is a place to be avoided. People wandering drunk along the beach, the riotous reveling of sailing parties, the lakes noisy with singing." Basically, it was known far and wide as a harbor of vice and a vortex of luxury. They were partying as hard as humanly possible, completely oblivious to the destructive forces stirring right beneath their sandals. And when I say destructive forces, the numbers are literally terrifying. Geologists who drained the water data away revealed an astonishing 24 separate active underwater volcanoes nesting inside a massive 38-square-mile crater. Locals actually call this entire region Campi Flegrei, which translates directly to the fields of fire. Let's see how this geological reality actually doomed the city. Directly beneath Baia are magma chambers. Think of these as giant underground cauldrons of superheated molten rock. Over centuries, these chambers slowly fill with lava, and that forces the ground above to rise up. Then, as the chambers empty out, the ground sinks back down. They act exactly like giant breathing bellows. And it's this constant, relentless rising and sinking of the earth over centuries that literally dragged Rome's ultimate sin cities straight down to the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea while the Roman Empire itself was declining. Section 3. The Pharaohs, Drowned Ancient Wonder. Our next sunken secret takes us over to the coast of Alexandria, Egypt. For 3,000 years, ancient Egypt dominated this region, building wonders like the magnificent Pharaoh's lighthouse. Built in the 3rd century BC, it was a true technological masterpiece, basically a massive banner telling the world, "Welcome to Alexandria." Tragically, it collapsed into the sea after a devastating earthquake in the 14th century. For hundreds of years, the ruins just lay there in about 20 feet of water, totally shrouded in mystery, because historical drawings wildly conflicted with each other. Some drew it like the Tower of Babylon, others as a classical tiered building. And this brilliantly illustrates how modern science steps in to save the day. Archaeologist Isabel Hainery and her team essentially drained the harbor metaphorically. First, they used a remotely operated vehicle, or ROV, to do sonar scanning. Then, over 28 weeks, they took 50,000 photographs for incredibly detailed photogrammetry mapping. Finally, they took all that massive data and created a full 3D digital reconstruction of the 3,000 enormous granite blocks scattered right there across 3 acres of the seabed. Through this giant puzzle-solving effort, they found pieces of a massive door frame underwater that perfectly matched a block left up on the quayside. When they digitally reassembled the frame and the massive wooden door it would have held, they discovered it reached 41 feet high. The weight of this entranceway alone, an unbelievable 200 tons. I mean, wrap your head around that weight. It vividly demonstrates the monumental, over-the-top scale required for something to be classified as an ancient wonder. It was designed to completely dwarf anyone standing in front of it. But how big was the whole lighthouse? Well, by cross-referencing their new underwater measurements with historical texts, scientists finally figured out its true height. The Pharaoh's lighthouse stood an absolutely mind-blowing 330 feet tall. To put that into perspective, that is the exact equivalent of a modern 32-story skyscraper in a city like Chicago. Crowned with fires and iron mirrors reflecting light for miles, it was undeniably one of the tallest, most imposing structures in the entire ancient world. They even solved the mystery of its shape. The architecture featured a square base, an octagonal middle section, and a circular top section. We know this for a fact now because the thickness of that reconstructed doorframe exactly matches the writings of a 14th century Moroccan scholar named Ibn Battuta. He recorded the wall thickness as 10 spans, which historians could never quite convert until now. Thanks to the underwater mapping, we know 10 spans equals precisely 6 feet, 10 inches. Science literally brought the blueprint of a lost wonder right back to light. Section 4. Atlantis. Solving the mystery. So, we've seen that ancient towns, Roman party cities, and giant lighthouses are very real and sitting right there at the bottom of the ocean, which brings us full circle to the greatest, most elusive detective story of them all, Plato's Atlantis. To find it, geophysicist Mark Gutcher decided to look exactly where Plato said it would be. Plato wrote that Atlantis was located in front of the straits called the Pillars of Heracles. Today, we know this maritime boundary as the Straits of Gibraltar. Gutcher focused his search on a submerged bank off the coast of Morocco called Cape Spartel. Now, it's incredibly difficult to study because it's right under one of the busiest shipping lanes in the entire world. But using an ROV, his team managed to sonar map the entire seafloor in that specific area. When they drained the data to reveal the seabed,
they found an island that had been submerged for 11,000 years. And what's truly incredible here is the geology. It sits squarely on a subduction zone, a massive tectonic plate boundary. This is the exact kind of geological fault line that generates catastrophic earthquakes and mega tsunamis. So, the geological record perfectly matches Plato's story, a cataclysmic earthquake and flood that could easily destroy an island in a single day and night, dropping it 20 to 30 meters straight into the ocean depths.
The location matches, the timeline matches, the catastrophic geology perfectly aligns with those ancient texts. So, when they completely mapped this submerged island with incredible 3D precision, zooming in to look for the temples, the bridges, the walls of the great warlike men Plato described, did scientists find the stone ruins of Atlantis? Well, the answer is absolutely zero. Despite the perfect geological conditions, there are no man-made structures down there, no straight lines, no geometric shapes. There is no stone city of Atlantis on that island. So, the crucial point is this. We have to look bigger. We know early human ancestors lived on coastal lands during the Stone Age. They were making breakthroughs, building wooden homes, learning to farm, and then the last ice age ended. Over the course of 15,000 years, melting ice caused global sea levels to rise a staggering 400 feet. This wasn't just one single bad day. This was an unrelenting force of nature that slowly but surely swallowed up the coastal territories of early humans worldwide, completely washing away their tools and their homes. Which leaves us with this incredible thought to ponder. If almost every culture on Earth shares a myth of a great flood or a drowned world, is the legendary Atlantis actually just a universal ancestral memory, a memory passed down through thousands of generations of those devastating Ice Age floods that literally reshaped human history? It turns out whether it's a Bronze Age trading hub, a Roman resort, or an Egyptian wonder, the stone structures eventually fall. But the powerful, enduring human stories of survival, of hubris, and the awesome destructive